Hello everyone. So in this video I'll be walking you guys through on the last part of this CRUD application, which is to actually to you must be able to update the information. Update, in this case we're gonna make some edit, and that edit's gonna be it's about like changing the name or editing the name of a person or editing the age of a person. And then when we click on save, then it should be updated. I mean, it's basically we are just making a change to a particular existing row of data, and we're just like appending that particular changes to be made. We are not actually creating a new row. It's just we're just making changes to a particular row of data that's already existed. So that's what our last method is, which will be making a update request towards the Supabase database. So that's the part. That's the basic idea of this particular video is going to be all about. So first of all, as you can see here, we have already made this particular table application. I mean, this is like a CRUD table already, and the last thing remaining is update. So of course, since we have delete button here, we're gonna have another button called edit. So that button we are able to make the table row here, which we can actually access. Make it must be able to, like, how to say, like, there needs to be another form here, another form which must be able, where we are able to make the changes. So that's what we'll be doing also, where we're going to have another form here. So before that, let's create this button here just beside this delete button. I'm going to go to this particular TD, which in this column here, in the same column where the button is located, just below the button. I'll be making another button. So I'm just gonna make a copy of this button, just make a copy and paste it right here. In this case, I would like to change the name to edit. Okay, so editing will be just beside this, and of course we won't be using this delete user function. We're gonna use a different one. Okay, as you can see here, this is the button here. We don't want to do the same thing as the delete request like this. What you're gonna do here, when I click on edit button, I would like to have this particular row here, or any of this particular row, I would like to have it displayed in a form, in like where you are able to make direct change into it. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make another form. So in this case, we already have a form here. This is the first form we already have. So what are you gonna do? Of course, let me just differentiate between this form here, this form is going to be, I'm just going to call it form 1. So in this case, this form 1 here. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make an exact copy of this form here, and I will be like just copying this copy. And what I'll be doing here, I'm just going to replace, I'll be just like copy it here, and then I'll be just placing it right below here, just below here. And as you can see, we are able to differentiate between form 1 and form 2. So let's go a bit more bottom to the bottom. So I'll have to replace this form 1 to form 2 here, because we need to differentiate between these two forms here. So of course, and then since this is form 2, like I'll have to change the button from create to save changes, something, I mean, just to give more context to what are we doing exactly. So let me hit save. So as you can see here, I was able to make another form, just exactly the same form here. And it's just, the difference is that I just changed the name of this particular button. The button's place, the button's name is called save changes instead. So that's what I did here. So what exactly this button, this second form should do is that when I click on edit, this form should be, the value of this form should be the one that's coming from this data, from this particular data. For example, bend over. When I click on edit, this bend over should be named here, and this 27 should be here. So that's the idea. That's the basic idea of what we're gonna do next. So what we're gonna do next here is that when you click on edit, so we're gonna need that edit function here. So edit, we're gonna make it. In this case, we're gonna say. Okay, before that, we are not actually directly editing anything here. We just make it, when we click here, it should be showing up here, right? So instead of just saying edit user, I'm just going to say display user. I mean, display user is just basically when I click on edit here, this particular row the name should be displayed here. So this is basically a display user function. Just gonna give some basic ID like this. Yeah, basic ID also. So what I'll be doing next is that I would like to have another state. Okay, yeah, before that let me just create a simple function called display user, something right, something like delete user. Okay, but we're not actually deleting anything yet, so it's basically it's going to be an empty function. For example, async function. Okay, I think in this case we won't be needing async. Okay, so we're just going to say like this function display user. It's going to be a normal function. Okay, this is currently is an empty function, but before that, what I'm going to do here, as you can see here, every form will be having a as you can see here, just like this, we have states here. We have stated an object called user. So this user will be the one where you are able to keep track of changes that you have made to a particular form, and this particular state is actually being used for the first form here. So which comes to my next point, is that we should be having another set function like this. I mean set state use state function like this, but in this case we're gonna name it differently. In this case it's not just user. I'm just gonna call it user2 and set user2. Okay, this is just to differentiate between this form and this form, because this is the form 2, and of course I'll be having name2 and age2. Okay, so just to differentiate between these two, I just named them user to everything 2, because we are having for the form 2 here. So as you can see here, now we have already have this object for called, we have already like declared a variable, an object called user2, and user2 will be having 2 elements, which is name2 and age2. So that's the basic idea. Of course you don't even need to have name2 and age2, because user2 is an object, so that's what we're going to do. So just I think it's better to just not to have two. Yeah, I think it would be better if you don't put anything to here, because we are just directly referring to this. So that's the most important thing. So next thing is that now we have already have this object here. So what we're going to do here is that whenever when I click on display user function here, just like here, which we did it here, I would like to pass this particular data, which is this user ID, which is basically any particular user ID that are being you have clicked. So like to pass it into this form here. Okay, this form. So this form will be having I would say a default value, which will be, for example, form 1 here we are actually making use of the first object user. So the second form will be using the second object, which is user2. So how are we able to do that is that, first of all, okay, instead of placeholder, I'm just going to remove this placeholder like this, remove placeholder. And what I'll be doing here, I'll be having a default value. Okay, default value. So default value should be user2 dot name. Okay, and this one I'm just copying and pasting it here as well. In this case, it's going to be age. So what I'm doing is that whenever when I click on edit, I would like to have user2 equals to bend over and 27. So that's what it means. Like whenever when I click on edit over here, it should be my name and 23. So that's what I'm trying to do here, just to display into these two forms here. So that's the basic idea of this. Okay, so the next thing is that we would like to do is that I would like to make whenever when I click on edit, this particular display user function should trigger. And what it actually does is that it replaces user2 instead of empty object like this. What I'm going to do here, I'm just going to make it equals to the particular ID that are being sent here, and so that's what I'll be doing right now. So let's go to our display user function. So display user function here will be receiving the ID here, which is a user ID. Okay, user ID is where we're gonna make use of it, and we're gonna use it to find which user that has been clicked. I mean that particular edit button has been clicked. So that's why we are using user ID also. Okay, so what I'll be doing here with the user ID that has been passed. So I'll be just like setting the set user to equals to, and of course it's gonna be the user ID, the user that they have this particular user ID here, that they having matching user ID like this. So of course we need to make sure we go through every single users. So that's what we're gonna do right now. So users dot map, and this dot map is gonna be it's like an iteration, like we're going through every single users, separate users. So it's going to be an arrow function like this, open and close curly braces. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to place this set user function right inside here. Okay, and then also, so what I'm going to do inside here is that I'll be calling every single user like this. It's like I'm calling every single user, separate users of object. And of course the next thing is that I need to make sure, like I mean I must be having the matching user ID, so that I will be able to find the user that has the matching ID, like the same as user ID is. So what I'll be doing here, I'll be making an yeah if statement like this, and this if statement will be actually like doing the condition where only when the user ID, which is user dot ID, must be equals to user ID. Okay, so as you can see here, it says user, which is coming from here, which is basically users, by the way. And of course this is what you'll be doing. So once we are able to find that particular user, once you have fully find that user, which is here, we're gonna make changes to this particular. Okay, so as you can see here, once we are able to identify the user that has been, who have the matching user ID, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna set this user2 object. As you can see, we have the user2 object, and we're gonna I'm just gonna replace this, instead of this empty like name and age. What we're gonna do here, we're gonna replace it, and we're gonna place it inside here like this, because it's an object. So that's what we'll be doing here. But instead of empty like this, we're gonna have user, and this user is basically this user, by the way. So user dot name, and it's gonna be user dot age. Okay, so that's the basic idea. So what we just did here, we are just replacing this particular empty form here with the ID that's coming from here. So that's the basic idea of display user is all about. So let's click save, and as you can see here, I mean this is going to be empty. And before, let's go to form 2 here. What does it have is basically the value of user 2 and value of user 2. Okay, now it's perfect. Now let's click on edit, and there you go. This is actually the this is my name, by the way, and this is followed by my age. So this is basically, these two data is actually coming from this row here. And the reason is that when I click on edit, I'm just like passing the ID of this, and with that ID that I've passed, I'll be looking for that a user who has the matching ID, and that with that matching ID, I was able to find that person. And alright everyone, so now we have already we are able to make, to bring this particular row, that's information that's coming from here, and we're just gonna what we just did here, we just directly brought this particular info into this particular form here. We're just like getting it back, and we're just pasting it right here. It's basically like a reverse, like how we have done it here, where we actually put insert our name here, and then we create someone here. But in this case, it's a reverse. We make a row here, and then from that row we click on edit. We are just bringing back that particular input like this. So the next thing is that I must be able to edit my name here, and also edit my age here. So in order to have another form here, I need to have another handle change functions also, so that I'll be able to keep track of the changes that has been made. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So as you can see here, this is form 1, and as you can see form 2 and form 2 here, but then I'm using the same function, which is actually, it's not the good way, because when I go to handle change, which is right here, I'm actually setting for set user, which is the first one here, but then I would like to set for user 2 instead. So that's what I will do right here. So I like to make another function. Basically it's a copy, by the way, a copy of handle change, and right below the first handle change, I'll be making handle change 2, and of course set user 2 as well, and that's it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to copy the, so form 2 will be here. So I'll be placing handle change 2 and handle change 2. So that's the basic idea. So I'll click save and it should be like this. And of course, let's give it a check whether are we actually making the changes that are we are making right here inside these two forms here. Is it actually being saved? Is it actually keeping track of the changes that have been making? So let's click on go to console here, and of course we need to actually yeah, console log certain things. For example, in this case we are making a console log for user, but I like to make it for user too. So I'll click save, and let's go to, yeah, we already have this particular console open here. Let's hit refresh. As you can see here, the reason why these two are actually blank is because these two forms are blank, by the way. Let's say if I click on edit, okay, and there you go. Now you just made a user to be having these two. And next thing is that I like to edit. For example, in this case, instead of bend over, I'm just gonna make it just bend. So, and that's it. And there you go. You are able to find that particular changes. It is actually keeping track of the changes you have made. And of course, it also happens for age, the second field also. So that's the basic idea of this second step, which is to actually keep track of your changes that you are making currently on your second form. So as you can see, it is actually working. And next thing is that let's go to the next step, which is to actually make the actual on update request. Update request is basically coming from Supabase also. So let's go to this is Supabase. Let's go to, not here. Okay, let's go to Supabase edit table. Okay, so that's the one thing. So we're going to modify a particular data in the table. So in order to modify a particular table, we're gonna need one of these, which is just this, by the way. And this is what we're gonna make use of this. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, before that, I need to make sure. As you can see here, there are many functions here, but then we are actually making only change. The only thing that's happening here is format for form 2. So form 2 will be the one that needs to be that. Sorry, let me just close this before. Okay, as you can see, only the changes should only coming from form 2 here, which is form 2. As you can see here, we actually, though whenever when you click on save changes, it's actually going to create a user, which is not what you wanted. So what you're gonna do here, instead of create user, I'm gonna make for update user. This is a update user like this, and this update user will be having a ID of the user. So that's what it's going to be about. So it's going to be user 2, but as you can see here, user 2 doesn't have an ID because we have not made an ID, we have not created an ID element for this. So we need to go to our user 2 use state function, a use state variable initializing here, object initializing here. We need to add another element called ID, and this ID will be blank in this case, so we won't be needing it. So but then of course, since we are actually passing the user ID here also, so I'm just going to say user dot ID. Okay, so as you can see here, when we make change to display user, the display user will be having also name, and I have to add ID also here. So it's going to be user dot ID, sorry, like this. Okay, so this is just some simple basic idea. So before that, let me just click save before anything else. So as you can see, there's a bug happened here. So there needs to be something that requires to be fixed. And there you go. Update user is not defined. Okay, so it's not a problem. Let's remove it for a while, because as you can see, update user is not here. What I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna make another function called function update user. So it's going to be an empty function. Okay, an empty function that does not do anything. So let's click save, and there you go. You already have this particular thing working. And next thing is that, of course, let's see the console here before moving on. Let's see what's actually happening in the back. Hit refresh, As you can see here, we have also have another element called ID for user 2. So let's say if I click on edit, and as you can see ID is 5, which is here, and bend over, and 27, which is actually perfectly working. And also this is ID 1, yeah, my name, and 23. Okay, perfectly working. And what you're gonna do here, we're gonna pass this particular ID, name, and age, and we're gonna pass it to be able to edit it. Okay, so what we're gonna do inside this edit user function is that we're gonna copy, yeah, we're gonna need this particular yeah, update function. Just gonna copy this, and of course let's copy everything, including yeah, let's copy this also, just paste it right here. And yeah, it's gonna make it like this. And of course, since it has an await, we need to add an async function like this, async. And this is just error, so we're gonna put data also, just to see if there's any, if there's a successful response or a failure response. That's the basic idea. So since we're actually making an update here, so we need to have a reference to which particular user that the changes has been made. So we need to receive a user ID, so from the form. Okay, whenever when you click on save changes, so save changes is the one that has this particular update user. Okay, so whenever when you update user, okay, as you can see here, this is not the way how to uh, yeah, for on submit we need to have a function. As you can see, this is not how you need to put inside a arrow function like this. Okay, so this is simple arrow function. So this is how usually we put a function inside an props call on submit. So that's the basic idea. So what you're gonna do inside our update user, let's go here. So once we receive user ID, so user ID will be the one that the changes that will be made. So I will copy user ID and I have to paste it right here. Okay, so update user is where is actually the thing is. So what you're gonna do here, I'm just gonna copy exactly like how we did it here. Example, everything inside here, because this is basically user 2 everything. And but in this case, I like to make it, I'm just going to change it a little bit, changes that will be made. For example, instead of user.id, I like to select 3 of this. What I'll be doing, I'll be making 2, user2.id, user2.name, user2.age. So that's what I'm doing, and it's supposed to be coming from users table also. And yeah, I think that's also, before that, let me just add some there's some function tester. It's either you need to see is there any error that's going on here, like this. Just copy this error and just gonna paste it like this. And of course, let's say if as an edit user has been made, we need to actually fetch the users to keep the table updated. Okay, so I'll be making a fetch users fetch users function to be made every single time we make a request, so that just to keep the table updated every time. Okay, so this is the basic idea, and let's click save, and let's go to our React project here. And as you can see here, we have not made any changes here. Let's hit refresh also. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to walk through from the top here, which is I'll be just clicking on edit button like this, and my name has been outputted here as well. So what I'll be doing here, I'll be just making a change like this. For example, I have to remove my last name and change my age to 25, something like that, and I have to click on save changes. And there you go. Now you're able to see that there is a change has been made. It's basically, I just made a change to this particular row called row with the ID number 1. And what I just did here is I just changed my name and I just changed my age. And let's do the same thing for this particular row. For example, bend over, and let's click edit here. So you can see the name comes here, and let's change this particular person's age to 30, and this person's name, I'm just going to call him Ben, and I will have to say Mr. Ben. Okay, so Mr. Ben will be the age of 30, and then I have to click save. And there you go. So as you can see here, I was able to make another update request to this particular second row. I mean for the Mr. Ben here. So let's and that's the part that we have just covered, which was the last part, which is to update a particular tables row. And let's actually go through from the top here. The first is actually to create. Okay, the first is actually to read the data that's coming from the database. So as you can see here, there's two data inside the database. So that's the first thing that we have covered. The second thing that we should be covered is to create user. So in this case, I have to create Mr. John, and Mr. John Doe like this, and who's the age of 50. Okay, and let's click on create, and there you go. Now you have Mr. John created here. And the next thing is to actually delete a particular table. For example, in this case, I'll delete myself, and there you go, we are able to delete a particular row. And the last thing is that we should be seeing is that we must be able to update a particular row of data. For example, in this case, I'll have to update Mr. John's name. So I'll have to click here, and I'll have to remove his last name, which is John, and I'll have to change his age to 25, and I'll have to click on his save changes. And there you go. Now you're able to see John just doesn't have a last name, and we said the age of 25. And that's it. That's the whole idea of this particular React Supabase CRUD application is all about. So thank you guys for watching this video till the end, and I hope you're able to understand all the basic way to actually make requests. For example, read, create, update, and delete, all those basic requests. And I hope you're able to understand all the steps that I have covered in this particular course, the whole course here. And of course, if you need assistance to this particular code, you are most delighted and welcome to access this particular source code. I'll be attaching to this particular course. And of course, in yeah. And the next thing is that thank you guys for watching this whole video, and I hope you are able to make it through in your life. And yeah, that's it for me.